Aloha everyone, welcome. I'm Abaya and I'm joyous to be practicing with you today. Our class will focus on the deep and buoyant core. And I just want to plant the seed that it's not exactly what you think. So I invite you to be really curious as we go through our different experiments so that you can feel this deep and buoyant core in a completely new way. Even if you worked with me on this before, I think today will be a completely fresh experience. So with that, please turn to your right and make your way onto your back. And actually, before you do that, you can place your blocks over to your left-hand side so they'll be over your head and kind of out of the way. And then we'll meet on our back. And take your time getting there and enjoy the pathway. You can bend the knees and place the soles of the feet to the earth and gently walk the feet a little wider than the hips so you can knock the knees in and relax the legs completely. Close the eyes or soften the gaze and let the arms be relaxed wherever that's comfortable for you. And let's start with some 3-dimensional breathing, and this just means feeling our lungs and rib cage expand, not just through the front, but also through the sides and the back. And notice if you have a tendency to try to take the breath, and see if you can soften and just receive the breath. Smooth, natural, effortless. We'll just take a few breaths like this to connect. Continuing to feel and witness the breath, we'll start exploring the deep core. Lift the knees so they point towards the sky and walk the feet in till they're hips distance apart. That's just about right in front of your sit bones. Bring your hands to your hip bones and start to rock the pelvis very, very slowly forward and back. Now, as you rock the pelvis, you might start to feel the pressure changing on the back of the hips. And so as the pelvis rocks forward, you might feel more weight towards the bottom of the pelvis, towards the sits bones. As the pelvis rocks back, you might feel the pelvis flatten. You might feel more awareness through the sacrum and the top points of the ilium. And just be in that space of exploring the weight shifting through the pelvis without any judgment, just a curiosity, maybe even an enjoyment as our glutes get a little massage from the shifting pressure. See as you play here, if you can also feel the breath. You don't have to change it, and just observe. And start to notice how the spine is impacted by this shifting without you doing anything. Just by virtue of the pelvis and spine being connected, everything you do with the pelvis impacts the spine. Start to notice how when the pelvis rocks forward, the lumbar curve increases. So you have a bigger arch or more compression through the back of the vertebral discs. And then as the pelvis rocks the other way, you might even feel the spine flatten. Often we think this is a good thing, but it actually puts compression in the front of the IV discs. See if you can feel that shifting, just that little bit of compression shifting towards the back of the vertebra and the little bit of compression shifting towards the front of the vertebra. And this isn't dangerous, right? It's okay that that compression's occurring, but imagine if your spine was experiencing this compression all the time, right? That's when the IV discs might start to become inflamed and irritated. Let the rocking get smaller and smaller. You'll still feel the shifting, you'll still feel the little arch and then the little flattening. But start to notice the in-between, that perfect space where the back isn't overarching and it's also not flattening. And take a few more moments to explore this, but when you find that sweet spot in the middle, pause there and breathe. And it should take a little bit of core effort to maintain this sweet spot. And it's the gentlest, just brightness of the deep abdominals. So not like the core work that most of us are used to. Take a few breaths to let the breath interact with the work of the core. You might notice the little bit of brightness in the core restricts the inhale, not in a bad way. It almost gives the inhale something to push against. And maybe with the exhale, you can even get a little more length through the spine so effortlessly. And keeping this neutral pelvis and neutral spine, we'll start to add a little bit of weight to the experience. Release the arms down by the side, palms face down. Feel the shoulder blades relax into the floor, the elbows soften, palms soften. And the arms are going to stay touching the ground below, but we're just going to play with taking the weight out of one arm at a time. And we'll sync this with the exhale. So with your next exhale, start to take the weight out of the right arm and notice the condensing that occurs in the deep core, and then release that. And do this a few times with the exhale, just starting to explore what happens when you add that little bit of weight to the core. And I notice when those muscles begin to increase their engagement, I can use that subtle strength to get a little more length through the spine. Maybe my occiput can wiggle back a little bit. That's the base of the skull, so the neck and throat lengthen. Switch to the left arm now. And less really is more, so you don't want to lift the arm. You're not really going to be affecting the deep core if the superficial muscles are engaging to lift the arm. And then let's switch to the feet. So again, using the exhale, start to take the weight just out of the right heel. Make sure the pelvis stays neutral. Your leg's a lot heavier than your arms, so you might notice that it's a little harder. Take a few of these with the exhale. See if with this increased effort you can get even more length through the spine. Try the left heel. I like to do the heel instead of the whole foot so that my hip flexors stay nice and soft. And then we'll let ourselves make a little bit bigger movements. So let's try unweighting the right arm. Unweight the left heel, the deep core's on. Bring the right fingertips behind the ear and then slowly curl up like a bicycle crunch. If you want to lift the left leg, you can. Feel the superficial muscles engage for the bigger movement and then release. Try this one more time on the same side. So unweight the right arm, left heel, and then slowly curl up and try to feel how there's this sense of deep support even though the bigger muscles are engaging now. Release back down. We'll do the other side. So right arm down by the side. And now exhale, take the weight out of the left arm. Right heel. Bring the fingertips behind the ear and slowly curl up. You might feel the front line of the body, namely rectus abdominis and the quads squeezing. Take one more on your own. And then come back to center and keeping neutral pelvis and spine. Extend the legs out into a mini Savasana. Legs extended is actually, I find, a little harder because the legs are pulling the pelvis. They're trying to tip it forward, so the deep core has to engage more to stay neutral. Come back to the breath and start to feel that dance between the breath and the little bit of pressure in the deep core. And then release completely. So it's okay if the pelvis tilts, right? Let yourself just be, let the deep core turn off and just observe the body, the breath. And now we'll begin our sequence. So if you're following along with the music, feel free to hit play on the first track and just make sure it's set to loop. And the sequence is similar to the one we've been working with the past couple of weeks. We'll start by snow angeling the arms overhead. Make sure the tops of the shoulders are soft and take a moment in this X-like shape. And then start to drag the heels in, placing the soles of the feet back to the earth where they were before. Plant the hands down towards the heels. Unweight the pelvis and slowly start to lift one vertebra at a time. And notice if you have a little more awareness of that one vertebra at a time after the deep core work we began with. Slowly set one vertebra at a time back down. And we'll do our first deep core experiment. I had a lot of fun with this. Bring the arms to T, palms face up. Go into your unthinking windshield wipers, the way you just do it all the time, and feel the sensation in the legs, in the hips, in the rotation of the spine. Maybe notice the range of movement, how far the knees naturally go towards the floor. And then point the knees back to center, and here's our experiment. Just like before, unweight the arms, so they're still touching the earth, but take the weight out. The deep core naturally turns on. Now, keeping the weight out of the arms, go into your windshield wipers again, and notice if the range of movement has decreased slightly. Notice if you feel the connections from the knees up to the thighs, up to the hips, up to the side body, into the shoulders, maybe even into the neck. And then come back to center, release the effort of the arms for one moment. And then unweight the arms once again. Take the knees away from me, so over to the right. And then as the knees come over to the left, lift the left arm overhead, rolling onto the left side. Push down into the right hand and start to paw the hands up into the body so you're coming up in this side saddle position with the left hip down. So this is our setup for Bharadvajasana. Make sure the knees and hips feel comfortable and then turn slightly away from the legs. take a moment to visualize your pelvis and your spine. And though the pelvis is tipped a little, try to find that neutrality where it's not tipping forward or back. It's tipping to the left, but it's not tipping forward or back. Use your next exhale to float the arms and see if you can feel that same core brightness that you experienced when you unweighted the arms on your back. Inhale, float the arms down and take a few on your own. Less is more. Try moving extra slow. The next time you lift the arms, pause there. Right arm floats down to the opposite knee and slowly let the whole left side of the body open. I notice when I do the deep core work first here, I get the lengthening all the way down into my hips, so it's not just in my rib cage. So notice if you feel some expansion further down in the body. And then next, inhale, float back up, kick your legs out and move your feet over to the other side, and then we'll paw our way down, feed the right arm through, and slowly melt onto the back. Enjoy this process like, oh, you're letting everything go, and we'll meet in that big X that our sequence begins in. So first, let's just pause here and let go, and without changing it, just notice the orientation of the pelvis and spine. No judgment, just notice. And then if it feels funny and you want something to change, you're welcome to. And we'll just take 3 breaths in stillness. And we'll begin our sequence on the second side. So heels drag in, hands float towards the feet, plant the soles of the feet down, and then slowly start to unweight the hips, lengthen the knees forward to undrape the spine from the floor, and then gently melt one vertebra down at a time, really trying to feel the support on the front of the spine that's controlling and articulating this movement with finesse. Float the arms to T, palms face up, or keep the weight in the hands. Natural windshield wipers, kind of maybe a little like loosey-goosey. And then unweight the arms and notice how the deep core affects your windshield wipers, and enjoy the sense of connectivity. Enjoy a feeling of integration and being able to notice what's happening from the legs all the way up to the head. The next time the knees start to go to the right, snow angel the right arm overhead so you can roll onto the right side, push into the left hand, and slowly paw your way up to Bharadvajasana on the second side. Make sure the legs feel comfortable. They can stack, they can stagger. Just make sure the inside of the knees isn't opening or feeling pressure. Gentle twists to the right. Pay attention to the orientation of the pelvis. And then use your exhale to very slowly float the arms. And then inhale, release. Do this a couple of times on your own and notice that really subtle brightness that occurs in the deep core. And this is what I meant when I said it's not what you think, right? When we hear core, we usually think of a lot more dramatic work happening. And I promise this less is more mentality is going to make your body feel amazing. The next time the arms float, stay there. Left arm to knee. Slowly let the right arm lift so the whole side body lengthens. Breathe into the side. Nice alignment, everyone. I can see that your neck is following the curve of your spine. That's a great indication that your deep core is supporting your big smart brain. And now slowly lift back up, kick the legs forward. This time, as we go to the other side, pull the knees underneath you into tabletop position. Grab your blocks. Let's start at the lowest height. and place them underneath the hands, shoulders stacked over that. Let's wake up the shoulders a little bit so you can lower one forearm at a time and then lift back onto the palm and just start paying attention to the shoulder blades and how they interact with the back of the rib cage. Try to close the mouth and breathe through the nose. Tongue on the roof of the mouth actually helps awaken the deep core. It's that subtle. Go the opposite direction, so the opposite forearm lowers first. And then the next time the hands come to the blocks, shift the weight onto the pinky side of the hand so the index finger knuckle lifts. Let the hands be really soft, like you're palming basketballs. More weight is going to be on the base of the wrist, the outer base of the wrist. From here, exhale, slowly glide the left foot back and then bring it back in. Take a couple of these foot glides. Notice if the pelvis starts to shift and see if you can maintain neutral pelvis and spine just like you did on the floor as the leg sneaks back. The next time the leg comes back, tuck the toes under. Shift the weight into the left hand. Reach the right arm forward, up, and back in a big circle. Notice the rotation of the rib cage and maybe how big your circle is. And then as we bring the hand back down, we've got another experiment. Flatten the top of the foot down. Unweight the foot. Deep core turns on. Take that big circle once again and just notice how it may have transformed. And try to feel the muscles that are engaging on the right side of the body to support you. If you want to do one with the weight out and then weight in one more time just to feel the difference, you're welcome to. Or just keep circling if you're enjoying unweighting that left foot. The next time the hand comes down, I know you're going to be facing away from me, so feel free to watch me first. The weight's going to shift into the right hand and we'll slowly stack the body and peel open so the left shoulder stacks over the right. Once you've observed me, feel free to try that. And then I bet you can guess what we're going to do. We're going to take the weight out of the left foot and notice if you can lengthen the spine a little bit more with that deep core support. Let's try that again. So left hand comes down, bring the left knee in, and actually take a moment to press the hips back to the heels and let yourself rest. Let the forehead touch the earth or your blocks, and just reconnect to your breath. Try to breathe some space through the back of the pelvis. And then let's float back up to table. Use your exhale to glide your left foot back, unweight the left foot, and take your circle, right arm forward, up and back, feeling the control and support in the deep core. So it's not just the obliques, it's the muscles in the center of the body as well. As the hand plants, shift the weight over to the right. Let your body open away from me, stacking left shoulder over right, and then unweight the foot, letting the spine lengthen. If you want to get a little more dramatic here, you can float the left leg, but I'd rather you feel more support on the spine and less work on the outside of the left hip. So less is more. And then slowly release back down to center. Tuck the right toes under, lift the hips, and press up and back to our staggered down dog. Press the hands into the blocks. If you want to sway the hips a little bit, you can. And we're preparing for our very fun natural transition where the left knee is going to lower and the right leg is going to effortlessly swing forward into a 90-90 lunge. So slowly lower. Oh, I don't know if I said the right legs. Anyway, I'll just tell you what to do correctly right now. Slowly lower so the right knee lands underneath the right hip. Let the left leg swing forward outside the blocks. And then push down into the left foot to slowly rise up and float your hands just to the horizon. Inhale, release the arms down, relax completely. Take a moment to check the pelvis, see if you can level it out here And it's actually surprisingly challenging sometimes to find neutral, so be patient. And then release the arms down and exhale to the horizon. Feel the brightness in the deep core. Next, inhale, push the right knee down into the earth, keeping the deep core on. Slowly start to lengthen the spine. My favorite thing about approaching this pose in this way is I feel it more in the leg and the psoas. There's nothing in the low back. So see how much you can feel in that right leg as you do this. And then slowly release the hands to the blocks. Lift them to their highest height. Lift the back knee and slowly start to extend the front leg into a supported Parsvottanasana. Let's take a moment to gently sway the hips from side to side. Anchor the big toes down to start to wake up the muscles in the feet. And then come to center, keeping the sole of the foot touching the earth. Unweight the left leg. Use that strength to pull the lumbar spine forward, right? You could use this strength to round the upper spine, but we don't want that. We want it to really lengthen the lower spine. So notice how when you lift that leg, you get a lot of strength, and you can use it to drape the body over the left leg. And then release that and sway the hips from side to side. And we're going to try that a couple more times. So with your next exhale, unweight the left leg. Slowly lengthen the spine forward towards the thigh. Breathe into the low back. And then release the foot down and sway the hips. One more time. From here, slowly walk the blocks over to the right, turning all 10 toes towards me. The blocks are going to land inside of the right foot. The right toes are going to turn towards the short edge of the mat, and the left heel comes out just a few degrees. Take the weight out of the hands so they're not resting on the blocks. Push evenly into both feet and slowly start to inflate into Virabhadrasana 2. Gaze down, make sure the front heel is lining up with the arch of the back foot. Equal weight in both feet, and seal the outer edge of the left pinky toe side of the foot down to the earth. Take a couple of breaths here. Gaze over the right middle finger if it feels good. This is our first time standing. Notice any sense of decompression in the joints after all the deep core work we've done. Everyone's alignment looks really nice. And then lift the left heel, slowly square the hips over to the right, lower the hands to the blocks, and we're going to play with a really fun transition here. So step the left hand really nice and wide, both hands on the blocks, slide the left shin forward and down, and then lower the left hip. Nice, way to go, you got it. Turn to the right, winding up in a modified Ardha Chandrasana. Bend the right elbow and shift back into the right palm. And then let everything go, so you spring forward, bring hands back to the blocks, and step the left foot back to where you came from. Okay, so that's the pathway. We're going to try it a few times so it becomes more familiar to you. So taking weight into the hands, bring the left knee and shin forward, left hip down. Option to take it right into a twist. I like this twist because then I can get a little momentum as I push into the right hand and spring forward, stepping the left foot back. Cool. So that transition is going to come in handy later. For now, step the right foot back, lower the knees down, lower the blocks to the lowest height, and press the hips back to the heels. If the forehead doesn't make it to your mat, you can use one of your blocks. And now we'll go through that same process on the second side. I want to give you another moment to relax here, but you can relax more when you know what's about to happen. Float up to table. You can advance to the second track on the playlist if you're following along with the music. Okay, so let's begin by finding a neutral pelvis and spine, and it's okay if that's a work in progress, right? You're gonna continue to evolve and get more body awareness, hopefully forever. Slowly start to glide the right foot back, maintaining that neutral. And then inhale, bring the leg back underneath you. Do a couple more on your own. And for today's class, we're using the exhale every time we do a movement that turns on the deep core. It doesn't always have to be like that, but it's helpful for the way that we're focusing today. The next time the leg extends, tuck the toes under, shift the weight into the right hand, circle the left arm forward, back, and open, and just notice the range of motion that you've got. And then as the hand plants back down, flatten the toes, unweight the leg so the deep core is on now, and take another circle and just notice how that changes. Notice as you spiral, if you can feel it all the way down into the IT band. And then we'll take a couple more spirals. It's up to you if you want to alternate with the work of what's happening in the right leg. The next time the hand comes down, shift the weight into the left hand. Slowly let the right shoulder stack on top of the left, lifting the right hand high. And then once the right hip peels open, you can unweight the right foot and use that strength to lengthen the spine. Take one breath here. And then release the hand back down. Let's try that again. So shift the weight into the right hand, going into the spiral. And then anchor the left hand down and let your body open away from me. This time you've got the option, after you take the weight out and lengthen the spine, if you want to lift the right leg, you can. Try to lift it by pushing down more with the left knee, so it's really quite effortless in the right hip. Release the foot down, square your body back down to the mat, tuck left toes under, and send the hips up and back for staggered down dog. As you press into the hands, try to feel the sense of the spine lengthening up and back effortlessly as you've really awakened your deep core by now. Then we start to transition into our lunge. So shift forward, lower the left knee, let the right foot swing outside of the blocks, and then push down into the back knee, float the arms just to the horizon. Lower the arms down. Neutralize the pelvis, find your long spine, and then use your exhale to float the arms and feel any brightness that starts to occur when you do that. Take one more pulse, and then use your inhale to lengthen the whole front of the body, and notice how engaging the deep core before you come into Anjaneyasana changes your experience. Make sure you're breathing. Release the hands down to the blocks, lift them to their highest height, tuck back toes under, lift the back knee, and slowly start to expand the front leg so the back heel can lower to the earth. Parsvottanasana. Start with some gentle sways. The front knee can softly bend. You don't want to feel any tension in the low back or in the hamstrings here. And then we'll play with unweighting the front foot. So take the weight out of the foot, notice how the core engages, and use that to lengthen the spine forward and drape it over the thigh. And then release the foot down, coming back to your more neutral Parsvottanasana, sway the hips. And we'll do a couple more on our own. And so the exhale is when you take the weight out and you lengthen the spine, focusing on the lumbar vertebra. The upper spine naturally is already pretty curved, so we don't really want to round too much there. If you're feeling a lot between the shoulders, come out of it and try to feel more into the low back. Come back to center. Now the blocks walk over to the left. Turn all 10 toes to the left. Blocks land inside of the left foot. The right heel comes out just a little bit. As long as you're looking down here, you can make sure that the left heel is bisecting the right arch. Unweight the hands from the blocks. Press evenly into both feet and slowly float up, letting the hips relax, open, arms float to T. Virabhadrasana 2. Nice. See how soft the shoulders can be. Gaze over the left middle finger. Close the mouth and breathe steadily here. Bring your awareness to your pelvis and notice where it's tipping. Sometimes we avoid a sense of tightness by tipping the pelvis forward. See if you can find that neutral that we've been working for. And then we'll explore our transition. So lift the right heel, let the hips square to the left, lower both hands to the blocks, widen the right hand quite wide so you've got room for the knee, glide the right shin forward, and then lower the right hip, twist to the left. Option to add a little spring by bending the left elbow and then push off the left hand, bringing the hands back to the blocks, rolling forward, step the right leg back. Try it again so it goes smoother later in class. Starts with the shin forward, lower, twist, and then unwind, plant the hands, and let the back leg unfurl. Walk the blocks inside of the left foot, unweight the hands, press down into the feet to return into your Virabhadrasana 2. And we'll go through our standing sequence. So lift the right heel, square the hips to the left. Oh, actually, sorry, no, we stay in Virabhadrasana 2. It's good. Each time you come into Virabhadrasana 2, it becomes more familiar. Let's play with anchoring the left heel and bending the left knee a little bit extra. If the weight's in the heel, it's safe for the knee to come past the ankle. And then kick into that leg and let the whole left side of the body open. Try that a couple of times, letting it get springy and natural. Nice, Jay, you made that one look really fun. And the next time the knee bends, pause there, lift the back heel, and slowly glide the back foot in so you can step onto your block. Relax the hips. Imagine you're in Tadasana. That's how relaxed you are here. And then exhale, hover the hands to the horizon and see if you can feel the deep core. Inhale, float the arms down. And exhale to repeat. Do this a few more times on your own. I'm noticing I want to walk my left foot out a little, so if your foot needs a new placement, give yourself that permission. And then feel the orientation of the spine, feel the brightness of the core. Notice what happens when you float the arms and the deep core enlivens. The next time the arms float, pause there. Inhale, drop the right arm, slowly swinging open like we've been practicing in our deep core twists before. And then exhale, reach the right arm forward, float the right leg back. Virabhadrasana 3, you can stay here for a breath if you want, or touch the right toes down if you prefer. When you're ready, slowly lower the right toes to the earth and then the right heel. The right foot is mostly pointed forward. We're traveling into Virabhadrasana 1. Bend the left knee, exhale to float the arms just to the horizon, and then inhale, press evenly into both feet to evenly lengthen the spine. See if you can feel the length coming from the right leg all the way down, maybe even to the front of the right ankle. And then exhale, release the hands down to the blocks, sway the hips from side to side. Shift the weight over into the right hand. Bend the left knee. Lower the right knee down for this first round just so it's a little easier. Circle the left hand forward, up, and back. This is our Parivrtta Trikonasana prep pose. And then plant the left hand to the block. Lift the right leg. Spin the right heel down. Unweight the hands from the blocks. equal weight in both feet, float into Virabhadrasana 2. We're back at the beginning. We'll go through that same thing once again. So begin to, actually let's pause and absorb. And my arms are kind of tired, so I invite you to float your arms down into any position that's comfortable for you. And circle one shoulder back at a time. Let the whole body sway as the shoulders massage. And then come back to center. Float the arms to T. Anchor left heel, bend the left knee a little bit more, and then kick into it to lengthen the whole left side of the body. Do that one more time. And then the next time the knee bends, shift the weight into that foot, glide the left foot forward into our single leg Tadasana. Exhale, hover the arms. Inhale, pendulum swing the right arm down and back. And then down and forward, right leg extends, Virabhadrasana 3. Touch the toes down, then the heel, straighten the leg, drop the arms. Exhale, bend the left knee, float the arms to T, and then inhale to take the deep core all the way in to Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, release the hands down to the block. 2 options this time. You can lower the knee like you did before and take your spiral just like before, or you can keep the leg lifted and slowly start to spiral the left arm forward, up and back into Parivrtta Trikonasana. So it's up to you. If the knee is down, the hand will lower and you'll open into Vira 2. If the knee is up, as the hand lowers, you can open to Virabhadrasana 2, or you can bend the left knee, step the block forward, and play with stacking the hips just like we did in kneeling before. Bend the left knee really deeply here, and then you can play with unweighting the left hand from the block. Take one breath in, Ardha Chandrasana. And then lower the hands back down to the blocks, lower the right foot down, and take the blocks with you as you walk them over to the right. Before you turn all 10 toes to the right, turn them to me, bend the right knee, and slowly rock forward and back just to massage the bottom of the deep front line, which is the adductors. So you might feel some sensation in the inner left thigh. Try pressing the tongue into the roof of the mouth, and even though you're in this hip opening posture, see if you can feel how lengthening through the spine here almost integrates the thighs better into the pelvic floor. And then turn all 10 toes to the right. So right foot turns to the short edge and left heel drops out just a few degrees. Blocks go inside of the right foot. And we'll do that same thing on the second side. So first, unweight the hands from the blocks. Press evenly into both feet, inflating into Virabhadrasana 2. And let's enjoy stillness in Virabhadrasana 2, integrating everything we've just learned. If you need to float the arms down to relax the shoulders, you can. Gaze over the right middle finger and try to release any unnecessary effort here. And we'll start to play with the leg bounce. So anchor right heel, bend the right knee, and then kick into the right heel to lengthen the whole right side of the body. Take a couple of these on your own. And the next time the knee bends, pause there, lift the left heel, slowly start to square the hips to the right, and then send the left foot forward into single leg Tadasana. Relax here, especially relax that left hip. Take a moment to breathe. And then use the exhale to float the arms to the horizon. We'll repeat this several times and try to use the arm float to feel the deep core brighten. Notice if you can get a little more length through the spine when you do this. A little more support and buoyancy in the pelvis. And the next time the arms float, pause there. Pendulum swing, left arm down and open. And then as it swings back, let the left leg unfold behind you. Virabhadrasana 3. You can hold for a moment or touch the toes down early. That's fine. If you're holding, try to visualize the orientation of your pelvis and your spine. Let's all touch the left toes down, then left heel, setting up for Virabhadrasana 1. Hips stay squared. Back foot is mostly forward. Straighten both legs. And then on your exhale, bend the right knee and float the arms to the horizon. Inhale to push evenly into both feet and slowly lengthen through the whole deep front line. Imagine you're lengthening the whole front of the spine. And then float the arms down to the blocks. Take a moment in Parsvottanasana if you want to sway the hips out a little bit. This first round will drop the back knee down, shift the weight into the left hand, and circle the right arm forward, up, and back. As you reach back, you can kick into the right leg, lengthening out into our Parivrtta Trikonasana prep. Feel free to do one more circle there. And then remember all those instances of how the deep core integrated your body here. Maybe you don't make as big of a circle, but you really feel a lot of support wrapping around the spine. The next time the hand comes around, plant it to the block, lift the back knee, spin the back heel down, unweight the hands, and float into Virabhadrasana 2. Gaze to the right, soften, breathe. Release the arms down. And even though we've done a lot with the arms, notice if there's a sense of spaciousness in the neck and the shoulders, even a weightlessness in the whole shoulder complex. Start to circle one shoulder back at a time, being nice and easy, letting the whole body flow with this movement. Maybe even noticing how the pelvis gently rotates and the legs. And then come back to center. Float your arms, let yourself be here. And then we begin with the leg bounce. So anchor the right heel to keep that knee safe. Bend into the knee and spring long. One more. The next time the leg bends, start to shift the hips over to the right and then shift the leg forward onto the block. Pause for a moment to get your grounding and then exhale to float the arms to T. You can do one more of those, just brightening the core. And then inhale, swing left arm down and back. Goes back to where it came from, and the left leg extends behind you. Pause in Vira 3 or touch the toes down. Great alignment, everyone. You look very buoyant. And let's all touch the toes down. Heel down, straighten the leg, drop the arms, setting up for Virabhadrasana 1. So make sure, Lisa, square the hips forward and lift the back foot, bring it closer so the toes are pointed mostly forward. Yes, that looks great. And now exhale, bend the front knee, float the arms to T. And then inhale to slowly lengthen all the way up from the left leg. So it's more about the deep core lengthening, not even so much about the spinal extension. And then release the hands down to your blocks. Take a moment in Parsvottanasana. Option to drop the back knee for Parivrtta Trikonasana prep, or you can shift the weight into the left hand, bend the right knee a little bit, and take full Parivrtta Trikonasana by circling the right hand forward, up, and back. If the back knee is dropped, as the hand lowers to the block, you can open up to Virabhadrasana 2. If the back knee is lifted, you're welcome to play with Ardha Chandrasana by bending deeply into the right knee, stacking the body open, step the right block forward, and then unweight the hand from the block. Lengthen up through the spine. It's harder to come into Ardha Chandrasana this way from the ground up, but your deep core is awake, so you might have the ability to do it today. Stay here as long as you want. Lengthen out through the left heel. Get as much length in the spine as you can. And then set the left toes down, set the left heel down, release the hands to the blocks and walk them over to the left. Keep all 10 toes facing me, bend the left knee, and we just rock forward and back, massaging the inner leg line of the right leg. Try to press evenly into both feet, even though the weight is over to the left, and you'll feel how the legs integrate better together when you do that. And then keep walking the blocks over to the left. Turn all 10 toes over to the left. Step the right block wide and glide the right knee in, right hip down. And let's pause in Sukhasana, easy seated pose. Take a moment to adjust the legs so you can sit comfortably and notice the sensation through the spine. It's called easy pose, but this is a really challenging pose. Notice if your practice has awakened more support through the spine. The deep core makes it easy to sit upright. And then replace the blocks over to the right. Plant the left foot. There was one more thing I wanted to do. So we're going to wind up, twisting to the left. Bend the left arm. Spring forward. Plant the hands to the blocks. Step the left foot back. And then step both feet underneath you, coming into Uttanasana. Bend the knees really deeply. Let the hips start to drag down towards the backs of the kneecaps, and then press the hips forward to slowly roll up the spine, coming up to standing. Something I was having fun doing as I prepared this class was walking and feeling my deep core. So turn to face me. With your next exhale, float the arms and step one foot forward, and see if you can feel the deep core illuminate when you do that. And then inhale, shift the weight, and exhale, step the other foot. And if you aren't feeling the deep core, you can come back to our one leg Tadasana and just exhale here to feel what engages, and then see if you can find that same engagement as you step one leg forward at a time. I do not suggest you walk like this, like in normal life, but I want you to just feel it right now. If you can feel that brightness in the deepest muscles of the body. And then once you've found it, see if you can re-find it with just one arm, because this is actually how we walk. So as the right foot steps, let the left arm float and then rotate. Left foot steps, right arm floats. And then let yourself start to walk naturally, so the arms just swing. You don't have to think about it, but see if you still feel that subtle brightness through the body, that decompression of the joints. Let this moment be as natural as possible. And then come over to your blocks, walk them over to the other side, because of course we have to stay balanced by doing that transition one last time. So let's see, step wide on your mat and then lift the right heel, turning the toes out to the short edge. Let the left heel come out a little bit. Take one moment in Virabhadrasana 2 and then lift the left heel. Square your hips over to the right, lower the hands to the blocks, walk the left hand over, and then slide left knee in, left hip down, take your twist. We're not going to spring up. You're welcome to do that if your body really enjoyed it. You can just stay in this twist for a moment. And then find Sukhasana on the other side. And we're not standing up again, but I wanted you to feel how the deep core supports you in walking. You can go forward 2 tracks to our cool down track, and I apologize, I did not offer water sooner. I certainly need it. Feel free to grab some water or enjoy stillness. And so we'll explore a pretty challenging forward fold together, but with your deep core online, I think it will be very successful. Let the feet be as wide as the hips, and notice if it feels hard to sit upright here. We talked a lot about neutral pelvis, neutral spine. If it feels hard to find neutral, try bending the knees and also try leaning back a little bit. When I say neutral, it's the how the spine and pelvis relate. So it's okay if the pelvis tips back, if the spine tips back as well. If you are leaning back, you'll explore this pose just by rocking from side to side, massaging out. This is the back line of the body. Option to start to rock from side to side, seeing if you can get the middle of the sits bones onto the earth. And then if that is feeling good and you want to keep tipping forward, I'll tell you how. If that's enough, keep exploring this space for the next minute or so. So with a soft bend in the knees, keep the heels anchored, but energetically drag them towards you. And notice how you immediately sit up nice and tall when you do that. Tongue to the roof of the mouth. See if you can feel the deep core supporting you here. Take that momentum forward, draping the body over the spine. Let the knees open a little bit. And then kick the heels forward without moving them, almost like you're trying to jump. The legs will extend a little bit and the spine will roll up. Knees naturally come back to the middle when you do that. Let's try it again. So heels drag back, body tips forward, knees start to open, and then push through the heels, slowly rolling up. One more time together. Knees drag to tip the pelvis and lengthen the spine. Knees open, feels good. You got a little more space there. And then kick into the legs, slowly rolling up. And now repeat this on your own and try to focus your awareness at the low back. I mentioned this earlier in Parsvottanasana. The upper spine naturally is going to want to round more. It doesn't need it. It's already in kyphosis. So let the rounding come from the low spine. And the only way to truly round the low spine is to use the deep core, to awaken those deep muscles that lie in the front of the spine that usually go completely dormant. But maybe after today's class, you can really feel how alive your spine is. If you want to pause in Paschimottanasana when you're folded forward, you're welcome to, and I recommend just gently swaying from side to side to lengthen the low back laterally. And then kick into the heels to slowly roll up. Grab your second blanket if you've got it and roll it up. Place it underneath the backs of the knees. Hit pause on your music so we have some silence here. You can move your blocks out of the way, or I can actually show you how to use them to support your hands in Savasana, which is kind of nice. My favorite way ever to get into Savasana is to come into that same Paschimottanasana. And then as I kick into the heels and unroll, I get to take it all the way back and imagine that deep core connecting the torso down into the inner thighs. See if you can recline all the way back, hands free with a lot of support and control. If that felt really good and you want to try it again, feel free. If you're just happy to be lying on your back, stay here. If you want to try using the blocks as long as you have them, you can bring them in about level with the hips and then bend the elbows so that the backs of the hands can rest on the blocks. Just make sure the edges of the blocks don't feel like jarring on your body. This helps bend the elbows and soften the humerus in the shoulder socket, so it's really nice and supportive, but if it doesn't feel good, do not do it. And in Shavasana, we get to let go completely. It's okay if your pelvis is not perfectly neutral. It's okay if your spine is not perfectly neutral. But I invite you to just notice, after all of the work we've done, all of the consciousness you've brought to the deep core, if the position you naturally came into isn't just a little more balanced than usual. And then you can release your awareness of the physical body and just be with the breath. Close the mouth. Let the tongue gently rest at the soft palate. And maybe after building all that awareness of the deep core, maybe you can feel how the muscles of respiration are a part of the deep core. And we have a generous amount of time to relax in Shavasana. And if it's hard to feel relaxed here, focus on your exhalation and see if you can lengthen it out without any strain, without any holding. Just get very curious about your exhalation and all of the sensations that go along with it. First, just let yourself be. And try to feel your body connected to the earth. Try to feel your next breath. And just observe your state of being after your asana practice and a nourishing relaxation pose. And use your next few breaths to explore that state of being, any sense of inner freedom or spaciousness or whatever you're witnessing. And staying in that state of curious observation, you can make gentle movements and try to enjoy the process of animating the body. And anything is on the table here. I'll give suggestions, but please feel free to explore any movement that the body is asking for. Perhaps stretching, perhaps hugging the knees in and gently rocking. Maybe just rolling onto the side and letting yourself be in that comforting fetal position. And take your time and notice after all the time you've had to connect and be present in the body, notice the richness you may be experiencing in this present moment. And eventually make your way up to seated. There's no need to rush. Grab any props you need to sit comfortably for about 10 minutes or so. It's fine to sit in a chair or fold a few blankets. And the traditional meditation seat is not always friendly to the hips and the knees. So I invite you to notice the feedback that your body's giving you and take the time to perhaps support the knees with your blocks or get a higher cushion or whatever might help you be here completely at ease. And once you've found what that means for you, you can find a single gaze point or close the eyes. And just observe your posture. Sitting upright sometimes creates a lot of tension in the neck and the shoulders, the space between the shoulders. Notice if right now, in this moment, you feel a natural, deep inner support. It's okay if your posture isn't perfect, as long as it feels sustainable and full of ease. So let yourself relax a little. Trust that your deep core is there for you. You've done the work. And then start to get really interested in your exhale. And try to observe that very subtle float that we found. You can even do it a couple of times with the arms just to give it the physical manifestation. The exhale, floating the arms and feeling that little brightness. And then eventually see if you can exhale and feel that brightness without using the arms. Close the mouth. Tongue gently rests to the roof of the mouth. And start to feel the qualities of the exhale. Feel how in the moment of the exhale the body ungrips. And so too does the mind. You have this opportunity to let go of any burden, any distraction. We used the exhale to find our physical buoyancy, but this also works on an energetic level. As you exhale and you feel that brightness and you release tension, notice how your heart may feel more buoyant. There is a lightness that is available. And I invite you to use our lineage mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, with each inhale and each exhale. And Om Namah Shivaya means I bow with respect to the inner self. So as you repeat it with wholehearted conviction, feel how that potential of the exhale mixed with the energy of the mantra really can take you to the goal. And each inhale just naturally brings your attention to the heart with the mantra. And then each exhale you can let go completely. You've done the work. And let yourself dive into the mantra and the deeper layers inside that become available through your practice. And for the last couple of minutes, see if you can do a little less. Let the breath be even more natural, the mantra even more effortless. And let yourself relax into the practice. And let each exhale help you release the distractions. Thank you so much for practicing. Namaste. Hope you have a very buoyant rest of your evening. I invite you to notice if you feel a little lighter or more ease in whatever activities you're doing for the rest of the night. Thanks so much for practicing. Raise your hand if you felt something new in your core. Oh boy! Yay, feel free to unmute and share if you'd like. Otherwise, I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon. I can hear about it then. Take care, everybody. Thanks for coming.